It is time for the Mistborn Tag. Hi guys, my name's Trinity. If you're here to watch me do the Mistborn Tag by Patrick Ryan. Now, I have talked a few times, especially in recent videos, about people who have similar tastes to me. And guess what? Patrick Ryan is probably the closest I've seen to actually having the same reading taste as me. There are some books we don't agree on. I can't get behind meandering plots, and I just can't do it. And there are some that he likes that I think are meandering, but for the most part, we tend to agree. And he created this tag and tagged me to do it as well, so I'm very excited. I do love Mistborn. You guys might not see Brandon Sanderson a lot on my channel because I feel like YouTube is oversaturated with Brandon Sanderson content. And I don't hold anything against anybody who posts Brandon Sanderson content. I just don't want people coming to me for Brandon Sanderson content because I love Mistborn. That's it. So while I can talk Mistborn with you all day, Brandon Sanderson, his writing style is not my favorite, so I have a tendency to like other things more. And I do like his stories and stuff like that, but there are things about his writing that kind of irks me, and I have read just about everything because I did a year of Sanderson. I know this year is deemed the year of Sanderson because of his secret projects, but I don't care. I don't care about those. I did do a year of Sanderson previous to all of this hoopla and read just about everything. And so I can say for a fact that I'm not the biggest fan. Anyway, we are not here for that. We are here today for the Mistborn Tag. Now, this is a series of questions based on the allomancy, which is the magic system used in Mistborn. And so I'm just going to go through all of the metals and their prompts. If you want explanation of the metals, you can watch Patrick Ryan's video. He does a great job of explaining what all of the metals do. And I'm going to do it this way to avoid some spoilers for Mistborn if you have not yet completed the series. Okay, iron, a book pulled forward on your TBR. I actually just watched a video from Holly Hart's books talking about Empire of Exiles. I've been wanting to read that one for a while, and my friend Izzy read it, really enjoyed it, and that got it pushed forward on my radar a little bit more. And then, you know, seeing Holly's recommendation for it got it pushed forward a little bit more. I do think that when I finish with the project I've got coming up, that's likely going to be one of the first ones I grab because it has been calling me, and there are now 2 people whose opinions I trust saying this book is really good and I should read it. And from what I understand, the actual synopsis is a little misleading, and this is more of a mystery set in a fantasy world, but I'm very intrigued to find out what it's all about. I've heard the writing is good and that I'll really like the characters. So yeah, that's definitely been pushed up my TBR. Steel, what is a book you keep pushing back on your TBR? Pushing back. Okay, inadvertently, probably Promise of Blood. So there are certain books that you want to read when you're in like the perfect mindset to read them. And lately, I have not been in a state where I feel like Grimdark's gonna hit right. Grimdark's also my favorite, so I probably am putting it off because, like, you know, you want to be in a good mood when you go for your favorites. You want the setting to be right. You want the atmosphere to be right. You want your mood to be right. All of these things. You want them to align so you get the best and most out of the experience of reading a book that you should really enjoy. Well, we all know life's not perfect. And so Promise of Blood keeps getting pushed back because of that. And I really, really want to read it. I really want to read it. 10, a book you read because the cover caught your attention. All of them. I'm a cover snob. Your cover has to be amazing for me to buy it. I am a cover snob. I'm trying to think of the last one that the cover caught my attention. That's why I bought it. That's why I read it. It is really difficult when that is like your go-to in your brain. Pretty cover by book. I'm going to go ahead and just say The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramas. I just finished this book, and while I do love the original cover, I'm not a huge fan of the Fairy Loot cover. And I think it's because the Fairy Loot cover, it looks like a typical YA romance, which that's not what it is at all, so I was really surprised. But the cover is quite amazing. and awful at the same time. So I was just intrigued. And I think that that's what cover needs to do for you. It needs to do for your book. It needs to intrigue people, whether that's a beautiful book or an interesting cover or, you know, something to draw the reader's attention. Next is Pewter, a massive tome you've enjoyed. Here's the funny thing about that. I don't read tomes unless they are Brian Lee Durfee. Right there. No, I do read some long books. I do have a tendency to want 300 to 500 pages, not really long, not really all that short, kind of the middle ground. But it is short for fantasy. So I think The Blackest Heart was 900 pages. So let's say The Blackest Heart. I love that book. Zinc, a book that made you emotional. Well, recently in The Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune, I did cry at the end of that book. Well, I mean, Down Below Beyond. I kind of cried at the end of that book too. Tears were shed. So, I mean, I've read both of these so recently. Just in The Lives of Puppets and Down Below Beyond. Brass, a cozy comfort read. I don't do cozy all that much, so I don't really know how to answer this question. A comfort read would be Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. It is definitely not cozy. If I had to go with a cozy, it would be Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, because I don't read cozy that much. I just don't. And that one I really enjoyed, but I liked the banter between the MCs. Like they were both so fun to follow. A guilty pleasure. So I don't like things being called a guilty pleasure because they make it sound like you should feel guilty for reading them. No, I love urban fantasy. I've always loved Laurel K. Hamilton. I will always love Laurel K. Hamilton. Have I given up on Anita Blake? Yes, I have. But those books hold a very special place in my heart. I absolutely love Anita Blake. It made me love urban fantasy. And even though some of the later books have devolved to erotica, I do really love the character of Anita Blake and her story. So the first 5 or 6 of them I'd recommend to anybody, and I still love them. So is it a guilty pleasure though? Because I don't feel guilty reading them. Bronze, a buddy read. I don't buddy read, guys. I don't. There's a reason for that. So I either take forever to read a book or 2 days. There's no in between. There is no in between, forever or 2 days. So I don't like buddy reading because I either fall behind or I feel like I'm going too fast. I like buddy reads. I like them in theory, but that's generally how it goes for me. So I would like to participate more in buddy reads. I really would, because I'd really like more people to talk to while I'm reading a book. I don't take the time to sit down and dissect the book enough for a buddy read sometimes. Atium, a book you read even though the ending was spoiled or a major plot point was spoiled. Oh, I can tell you one that I'm considering reading even though I know major plot points of the book, and that would be ACOTAR. I want to know whether I should love it or hate it. I have read Throne of Glass, and I did think that that was a really fun read, and so I'm not opposed to picking up something else, Sarah J. Maas. I know she gets a lot of hate. I know she gets a lot of love too, but I do know a major spoiler for ACOTAR, and I mean, I don't know. Do I care that I know the major spoiler for ACOTAR? Not really, but I have considered reading it recently just because I do like fantasy romance, and why not read the one that everyone talks about? Cadmium, a book that caused you to lose track of time. I tend to do this when I read Anthony Ryan books. I really do. I get lost in them. I get lost in the writing. I get lost in the worlds. Yeah, and I tend to read Anthony Ryan on vacation too, so I get lost and then my family gets mad. There was a tradition of me reading it every 4th of July there for a while because the timing of the releases just hit right before the 4th of July, and so I would always have an Anthony Ryan book on the 4th of July. Bendalloy, I don't know how to pronounce this in the book or on this page, so it says a book you read faster than expected. Speaking of buddy reads and why I don't do them, Nofek Gloss by Essa Hansen. I read that in 24 hours. I could not put that down. And I was buddy reading it with somebody. And then they were like, what? You're finished? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. Of course, this did me no favors when I went to read Azure Ghost, because I was like, there are parts of this I don't remember. And I'm like, well, no crap, you don't remember. You read the whole thing in 24 hours. How are you expecting to remember all of that? There were major plot points too. But they were things that happened towards the end that I was focused on this thing and these things were happening. And so my brain latched on to this thing and not these things. So it wasn't like I just forgot part of the story. It was my brain decided this was the route that the book went, even though these things happened too. So yeah, but no fat gloss. I read that within 24 hours. That was insane. Gold, a book you might have liked if you would have read it under different circumstances. So this is one I have not necessarily DNF'd, but it is one that I had to set aside because when I went to read it, it was not the right time. My brain didn't want to focus, and I haven't picked it back up yet because it had a little bit of a rewrite. It got a revamp, and I really was looking forward to the audiobook version of it, and then I found out it was getting a rewrite. So I've kind of not picked it up because I'm not as interested in reading it in the ebook form. That is because it is huge. It is massive, and that would be Dark Blade Assassin by Andy Peliquin. And I like physical audio, cool. That long of an ebook, I don't know. I just don't know. I think I will end up DNFing it because of a headache, and that makes me sad. So I might just go ahead and listen to the audiobook that's not revamped and talk to Andy a little bit about what the changes were, or talk to someone who's read the newer version of it and can tell me what the changes were, because I really want to read Dark Blade, but the books are so big that I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to do them on ebook. Electrum, a 5-star prediction. Let me just link my 5-star predictions video below because most of them I have not yet read. Chromium, a book rec that I DNF'd or sent me into a slump. A book rec that I DNF'd. If someone specifically recommends me a book, I really don't like putting it down, but people don't specifically recommend books to me because I have a tendency to DNF. I'm trying to think of one that I DNF'd that someone recommended to me. Well, okay, maybe a series. There have been a couple people who have recommended The Greatcoats to me, and I don't understand why. I really don't understand why people think I would like The Greatcoats, because I read Traitor's Blade, and there were some things that I was like, no, don't like this. And I really never felt the need to continue. I thought the book was fine. So I didn't necessarily DNF the book, but I'm DNFing the series. So like, I don't understand. I don't understand why people recommend that series to me so often. Nicrosil, a series a friend recommended that you binged. I don't binge read series, guys. I don't. However, if you want to say I read all of these books almost immediately upon release, minus the first one because I read the first one and then had to get the rest of them, that would be Voice of War by Zach Argyle. So I read these immediately upon release, like the second and third one. And then Voice of War, I kind of slept on because I kind of became friends with Zach before I read the book because we were part of the same Discord and I didn't want to DNF his book. So I held off on reading it and was like, okay. And then I actually got the third book, Bonds of Chaos, a little bit before its release. And so, yeah, I mean, I read them, some of them before they came out. That's the closest I get to binge reading, guys. That's the closest I get. I cannot read series back to back. I will get bored. My ADHD will go insane. I just can't do it. I cannot do it. A book or series that left you hung over. 5 Warrior Angels left me in a big, big hangover. I had to read Bloodsong to get past it. That would be The Blackest Heart, because I'm still awaiting the audio of The Lonesome Crown. They did say it was going to be a couple months ago, and I'm still waiting, guys. I'm still waiting. But The Blackest Heart has put me into the biggest reading slump I think I've ever had. Now, I don't slump anymore after reading Anthony Ryan because I'm not expecting anything like that to happen again. My expectations with Anthony Ryan are very high, and I come out of them very satisfied. So, like, I don't get book hangovers with him too much anymore. Durelium, this is a series you binged. Again, all I can say is I don't binge series. The dog's messing with the tripod again. I apologize. So I can't answer that question. Lerasium, the book that got you into fantasy. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this question. So I would like to say something not Harry Potter, but that's my answer. Harry Potter probably is the one that got me into fantasy. It's the one that stuck with me. I have a Harry Potter tattoo. There's a lot of people who don't like that about me, and I apologize. But I'm someone who can separate art from artist and stuff like that. So I do still have an affinity for the series, even though not necessarily for the author. But yeah, I love Harry Potter, and that is what got me started with fantasy. That's it for me today, and I hope you guys like this tag. I know it was long and a lot of information, but hopefully you got some book recommendations out of it. I will see you guys in my next video. If you're interested, I do have my links in a Linktree link down below. Bye!